Thomas and Margaret Miller were found peacefully in bed, hands clasped together after 72 years of marriage. Their daughter Claire arrived for her weekly visit to discover what seemed like the most beautiful ending to a legendary love story. But when Claire found her mother's reading glasses resting on a stack of papers in the bedroom nightstand, everything changed. What she read in those documents revealed the devastating truth behind their final night together. On a quiet Tuesday morning, the Miller house sat silent and still. Curtains remained drawn. The mailbox stayed unopened. Claire pulled into the driveway just after 2, arriving a day early. She was a hospice nurse. She'd learned to trust her instincts. This morning, every instinct screamed at her to check on them. She knocked. No answer. Inside, everything looked peaceful. Fresh flowers sat on the kitchen table, but the stillness felt heavier than normal quiet, pressing against her chest. Claire climbed the stairs, her heart racing. At the bedroom door, her hand trembled as she reached for the handle. She pushed it open slowly. Thomas and Margaret lay peacefully in their bed, side by side, hands intertwined on top of the covers. They looked like they were sleeping. They were gone, both of them, together. In 20 years of hospice work, Claire had seen hundreds of deaths. She'd never seen anything like this. Her parents had left this world exactly as they had lived in it, side by side, holding hands. Within minutes, Claire would discover the truth behind this peaceful scene. She had no idea how devastating that truth would be. Within hours, the house filled with family. Thomas and Margaret had met as teenagers in 1950. He proposed on her 18th birthday. Friends predicted it wouldn't last. Those friends had been wrong. Their 72-year marriage had become legendary. The funeral arrangements began. Friends offered to speak about their devotion. The local newspaper wanted to run a feature, but Claire couldn't shake a nagging feeling. Simultaneous natural deaths were extraordinarily rare. Maybe one had a sudden cardiac event. The other died from the shock, heart simply giving out. People died of broken hearts all the time. But then why were they holding hands on top of the covers? Why were they positioned so carefully? People dying in their sleep didn't arrange themselves like that. 2 days later, Claire returned alone. She opened Margaret's nightstand drawer. Hand cream, a bookmark, reading glasses. Beneath the reading glasses lay a stack of papers. Claire would learn the truth in those pages. But first, she had to understand what her mother had been hiding. The letterhead made her stomach drop. Oncology department, cancer center. Her breath caught. Maybe her mother had been secretly supporting a friend through treatment. Margaret was always helping others, keeping their confidences. Then she saw the name, Margaret Miller. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Diagnosis date, 6 months earlier. Her mother had been dying for 6 months and never said a word. Claire frantically read through the records. The cancer was aggressive, already metastatic. The doctors had given Margaret 3 to 6 months to live. How had she hidden this? Claire was a nurse, trained to spot signs of illness. Margaret had carried this devastating secret with incredible strength, protecting her family from the truth. But why? Beneath Margaret's records were more documents in her father's handwriting. Thomas had been conducting research. Pages of articles about palliative care, pain management, hospice options. Handwritten notes filled the margins. He had known. They had been facing this together in secret, but that still didn't explain how they both died on the same night. Unless a terrible possibility formed in her mind. She'd read about these cases in nursing journals, murder-suicides, elderly couples where one was dying, the other couldn't bear to live alone. If Margaret was dying anyway, in terrible pain, maybe Thomas thought he was helping her. Maybe he thought he was being merciful. Claire's hands shook as she continued through the stack. She needed to understand what had happened in that bedroom, what her father had done. At the very bottom lay an envelope addressed to all 3 children, sealed but never mailed, just left there, waiting to be found. Inside were 2 letters. She began to read and the truth finally emerged. Margaret wrote about her diagnosis, about the choice she faced. The cancer was causing pain, subtle but growing. In the months ahead, she would lose her independence, her dignity, her strength. She would end up in a hospital, unable to do the simple things she loved. She couldn't bear it. Not the pain itself, but what it would do to Thomas. 72 years together meant watching each other decline would destroy them both. She had lived a beautiful, full life. She had no regrets, but she refused to let her final chapter be hospitals and suffering, while Thomas watched helplessly, his heart breaking. Thomas wrote that he had known Margaret for more than 7 decades. He understood her fear, her wishes. He understood what the cancer would steal from them both. But more than that, he simply could not imagine a world without her in it. Not even one morning waking up alone. They had promised each other 72 years ago that they would never part. He intended to keep that promise. They had chosen their final evening carefully. They looked through photo albums, reminiscing about their life together. They held each other. They talked about everything and nothing. And when they were ready, they took their final rest together, hands intertwined, just as they had been for 72 years. Claire collapsed onto her parents' bed, the letter pressed against her chest, sobbing. But somehow beneath the grief, she understood. Thomas and Margaret had faced their final journey with the same courage that had defined every day of their marriage. The memorial service took on new meaning. Claire stood before the gathered crowd and shared the truth. She spoke of a love so complete that it transcended even fear of death. Thomas and Margaret Miller had shown the world what it meant to truly love someone. Their 72-year marriage ended exactly as it had been lived. Together, united, filled with a love that refused to be diminished by anything, not even the final goodbye.